early afternoon, whichever it is in your time zone. Beautiful day here in Jupiter, Florida. A lot of things going on today, Monday, February 27th, 2023. And isn't time flying? I'm hearing from my compadres and my friends, my family in New York, that they're expecting a big snowstorm. Don't, I'm not gloating. Is that not music to my ears? It's that's one of the reasons I'm down here. I'm not looking to go skiing. I'm not looking to have snowball fights. I'm perfectly content sitting with palm trees in the background and talking to you guys with a t-shirt on and just coming from the gym. I'm perfectly content, as if you haven't noticed. So, some of the we're hearing some of the new things going on, and nothing really new. Barbara George, hello. Doing very well. Esmeralda Pinchon, going to snow here tonight. That's what I hear. Are you in the New York, Esmeralda? Yeah, I hear it's going to snow. A big snowstorm. Fine summer's truth. Hello. So good to see everyone. Come join. Where's all my folks from across the pond, my Great Britain people? New York City, Esmeralda Pinchon. When it first snows in New York City, it's like beautiful. And then as the Mickey Mantle, how are you, buddy? But as the snow is there for a while, it just becomes like a nuisance, and especially like cars that park. Kim Alliston, hello, hello, hello. Cars that park and they have that alternate side parking. So like sometimes they won't dig out until their alternate side. Deborah Sullivan, hello, is up, and then there's nowhere to throw the snow. So where do they throw the snow from the plowed streets into the streets? And it becomes just a total mess, and it's horrible. But that's life in the big city, Debbie Johnson, 39 here in Tucson, Arizona. Wow, 39 in Tucson. Well, that's why you got to go to Phoenix. By the time I get to Phoenix, she'll be rising. But Phoenix probably gets cold too, right? I don't know. I don't know I know they get crazy hot weather, like in the hundreds, and people always say, "Oh, it's dry." 100 dry or 100 humid, they're not that different, Maybe a little bit different. You don't sweat as much, but a dry 100 is still hot as all hell, Vicky O. Quinn, looks like you're having a beautiful day. Gorgeous. I've been trying to do an hour of cardio every day, and I don't lift every day. I lift, a couple times a week, but I try to do cardio every single day. So I got on the bike for like an hour and 5 minutes. And 65, Barbara George says in North Carolina. Nikki Bella, hello Nikki, great to see you. Lots of snow in the mountains, and it gets hot as heck in the summer. Deborah Sullivan, 83 today in Texas. Wow. Where are you in Texas? Austin? Isn't that Austin's the new California. All the displaced Californians are moving to Texas. Richella and Peter heading right to the gym. Do you guys question why the Pranzos are so healthy and look so good at their age? Because they work out. They live a healthy life. They're positive people. That's the key. That is definitely the key. Deborah Sullivan says, yes, ATX. Hey, Bill, sorry I'm late. Shatim Smith. That's okay, Shatim. I'm glad you're here. So what we're hearing about I know Duty Ron went on yesterday, and he was talking about the fact that 1125 King Street, the home where the quadruple murders happened of Ethan Chapin, Zaina Knodel, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves, that home has been donated to the university by the owner, and it's going to be knocked down in the spring. I would imagine they want the house to be standing when the trial occurs, so they can actually bring the jury to the house to explain how the murders were committed, and to explain right on site, have them look at the crime scene. There's nothing more powerful for a juror or for an investigator to actually look through the crime scene, and all the things they've heard or seen on pictures come to life when you actually go into the crime scene and do a walkthrough. So that's one of the reasons I don't think this house will be knocked down until after the trial. I mean, that's a very froze up for a second. You know, I can you guys hear me now? It's terrible to get a call while you're on your. You guys hearing me? Okay, okay, great. It's it's a human thing that when some atrocity happens, that we can't face the location anymore. Like I'm talking about a real like Sandy Hook, where 16 5-year-olds and I believe it was 5 adults were slaughtered by Adam Lanza. That school could never be used again. They had to knock that school down. How could you ever? It's like it becomes almost like a shrine, you know. It's like ground zero. That was basically a burial ground when it happened, you know. And the fact that there's probably to this day still body parts in that soil where they, of course, rebuilt, not the Twin Towers, but they rebuilt a building. Shatim Smith, she asked if they do a walkthrough with the jury at 1124 King Street. Would they have to get security? Well, I think there's already like a fence around the house for the gawkers, the TikTokers, the content creators with no ethics and morals. Yes, so to answer your question, Shatim Smith, they would have to have security, and the security would be the police to make sure no one gets near the house, keep them 100 yards away during this, so all these people that are dying for insider information that can really affect a trial, can affect a case, they're kept away, you know. So I was just talking about like infamous locations. I know that they also would, a location where Jeffrey Dahmer killed a couple of people, they knocked that down too. It's just these infamous locations. Rick Borgia, good morning. How are you, buddy? Yeah, these infamous locations, they can't be allowed to stand up. They need to be knocked down. It's just, you know, there were people that recommended that the Twin Towers or anything resembling that never be built again on that site, that it just become a memorial or a shrine to what happened that day. And it was determined through hearings and all kinds of things that no, the way to show that we're a free country and the way to show that we're not giving in to terrorists is to build a building right exactly on the same site. And that's what was done. I sort of wanted them to build the Twin Towers again, but they built a building that doesn't look anything like the Twin Towers. The building's okay. I don't love it. But that, you know, people felt like New York City during the times, and I don't know how I got on the subject of the 9/11, I guess just talking about locations that become almost shrine-like. New York City after 9/11 almost became like a small little neighborhood where it seemed like everyone knew each other and everyone was close and everyone were, you know, were New Yorkers and were Americans and this is the United States of America. It's gotten so far away from that now. Now it just seems there's so much divide and you don't have that cohesiveness that we felt after 9/11 and the support, especially the police, the support we had from the community. Now the police get very little respect, and that's almost all over the country. It's almost like a universal thing in lots of parts of this country, you know, the whole, I'm not going to get on this because this is a whole other topic in itself. So just so you know, yes, they're going to knock 1124 King Street down. And there's going to be a shrine or a memorial on the University of Idaho campus to the 4 students, Ethan Chapin, Zaina Knodel, Madison Mogen and Kaylee Gonsalves. There's going to be a shrine and a memorial to them on the University of Idaho campus, which is probably more appropriate that that occur. So, so knocking the building down is probably a good idea. I could never see that the owner, and I don't know. I don't know what, I'm sure that with the tax laws, I don't know if he can totally write off the gift to the university, because the gift obviously is done for a specific reason. It could never ever be rented again, I don't believe. And the building is obviously is in the business, is in a real estate business. So that's what's going to happen with the building. It's going to be knocked down, and a shrine to the students will be on the University of Idaho campus. The other thing that's going around now too, and it has never been confirmed by law enforcement, except we hear it from investigators close to the investigation, and that's what we're hearing because of the gag order against anyone talking about the Idaho quadruple case, again, bringing up anything new of evidentiary value in the case, because they want to protect the case, the jury pool. People have spoken about, will they request a change of venue? Well, this was an internationally known case. So where could they change it to where jurors wouldn't know about what happened here? Is there a place on this earth that they could hold the trial and that the townsfolk or the people wouldn't know about this case? I think that's pretty tough to do, I think everyone pretty much knows about this case. So I don't believe there's going to be a change of venue. I believe it's important that the case is tried in Moscow, Idaho. The people in the town have been, they've just been horrified in regards to what has occurred. It's so affected this sleepy little town, one of the safest towns in the United States, and now it gets that reputation. It'll always be remembered as the town that had the murder of those 4 students. Shateem Smith, there's going to be, Shateem Smith says, I volunteered to be on the jury. Well, there's going to be a real vetting process of all jurors. And they're going, I would imagine they will come from the community. Because if it will be, of course, if it's going to be held in Moscow, they must come from the community. And basically, the questions that they'll ask, can you be fair? Are you pre-prejudiced about this? What have you heard about Brian Kohberger? Do you think he's guilty? Things like that they'll be asked. Debbie Johnson, hi Bill. I was born and raised in New York City, mostly Queens, New York. I happened to be born in Astoria, Queens. I was born at Astoria General Hospital. So, and lived in Queens for my early years. I think I moved out to Long Island when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And other than that, I was born in my early years raised in Queens. Vicky O'Quinn, hi Mystique. Hello guys. So the other big part that we've been hearing again and not confirmed by the police is that someone leaked out, it's been leaked, it's in all the press, that Brian Kohberger had pictures in his phone. He had pictures in his phone of, sorry guys, the gimbal malfunctioned for a second. Let me see if I can get it up and running again. Sorry about that. There we go. When you shoot outside, you take all these chances. Will there be wind? Will there be good Wi-Fi? Will the gimbal cooperate? Will people walk by me? Will dogs be barking? Will birds be chirping? So that was one of the risks I just took, and you saw my gimbal malfunction for a second, but 70 people in the chat, 31 with the thumbs up, guys. This is Coffee with Cannon, Backyard Beverage, Bitchin' with Bill, Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. That's our overseer. The love of God, they didn't have to leak it out or sensationalize it. Common sense says he had pics of victims. Fire Opal, infamous town for a long time to come. There'll be morbid visitors poking around and bringing the murders up. You know, guys, let's get back to the pictures in his phone. I look at that from an evidentiary standpoint, and whether the pictures in his phone were physically taken by him or they were uploaded from a social media site, that is what we call, again, circumstantial evidence, that from which inferences may be drawn. And that, along with all of the other powerful, powerful circumstantial evidence, if in fact he has pictures on his phone of any one of the victims, Donald Elkins, thank you, buddy, that is circumstantial evidence, and very powerful circumstantial evidence. I heard someone today say, "Oh, it doesn't mean anything." That's bull. That person's never been in a homicide trial or worked a homicide that says, "Oh, it doesn't mean anything. Anyone could pull." Yeah, but do you have pictures of any of the victims from Idaho in your phone? I didn't think so. So it means something. It means a certain obsession that he had with these girls. It means that he went to the trouble of uploading into his phone. And if he took them himself, that's even worse. That's even more powerful of circumstantial evidence. So yes, having pictures on his phone, and again, that evidence is coming from an investigative resource close to the investigation, not named because of the gag order. However, all of this little stuff is leaking out. It's leaking out. Remember when the case first occurred? There were all these leaks, and a lot of the talking heads on TV knew a lot of things about the investigation that was never released. And a lot of these, I believe, law enforcement folks were being fed information from their compadres that were working the investigation. So yeah, that's a fact. And I think they're still being fed information, and they in turn are feeding it to, I would like to know about where you think Brian dumped the clothing and the knife. Shatim, that's anyone's guess. He had a long time to get rid of the clothing and the knife. He wasn't arrested till December 30th. So he had a great deal of time to get rid of the evidence. Where he dumped the knife? Shatim Smith, cops talking to other cops? Never. Yeah, no, there's no doubt someone's leaking information to other law enforcement, and those law enforcement are the talking heads we see on TV every night. So, and I'm not naming anyone, but someone's getting information from inside a source close to the investigation. You hear that all the time. I've mentioned it numerous times that on the NYPD, they had such a policy of transparency with the press, and this came right from the police commissioner, that they gave the press almost everything we had on a case. And even secrets that we didn't want out there were released to the press, and I hated it. I hated that they did that. And it's not a good policy. Even though it comes from the best police department on this earth, it's not a good policy to give all your information to the press, because some things need to be kept secret. You've heard me say, and you've heard Duty Ron say, you've heard Phil Grimaldi say, the press can be our best friend and they can be our worst enemy. Lou Lemoracco, good morning, buddy. Good to see you. And that's the truth. The police department should use the press for their purposes, not the other way around. And of course, it is the other way around. The press uses the police department all the time, and they talk about, they want to know all kinds of information that they shouldn't be privy to. They shouldn't be told, because you need the secrets in order to conduct a good investigation, in order not to prejudice the jury pool. in order not to prejudice certain witnesses. Because witnesses, unless you lock them down into a statement, they start hearing all this noise and they start remembering things differently than the way they actually saw it, because they're hearing this. They're bombarded with this in the broadcast media and the press. So yeah, you can't be, as they say, transparent in an investigation, in an important investigation with the press. You need to hold things back. And I think that the Moscow Police Department did an outstanding job of this. There was a lot of pressure for them in the very beginning to release things that they didn't want to release. And they did a great job of keeping it zipped, you know. How could the knife sheath have only Brian's touch DNA on it? You know, guys, I think this whole knife sheath thing, it's a great piece of evidence, but I think it's going to become not as important once they let us know that Brian's blood DNA is in the crime scene, and no one's going to be talking about the sheath anymore. You know, they're going to just be talking about, oh, his blood DNA. And this is not a rumor. I don't have any inside track by an investigator close to the investigation. I just predict that his blood DNA is going to be in that crime scene. Barbara Butcher, one of the best medical legal investigators in the nation, she said there's probably a 99% chance that his blood DNA is in that crime scene. So I will take it from Barbara Butcher. I believe that his blood DNA is going to be found in there, and then it's not going to be as important whether his touch DNA. Why is it only the touch DNA? You know, and if you recall, they matched the sheath, the touch DNA to the sheath, to his father's DNA. Then undoubtedly, because that was 99.9% match, they subsequently took Brian's DNA and compared it, and boom, a hit, 100% hit. You know, 1 in 30 trillion, whatever it is, the number that it's him. You know, and I know many of you. Mary Michael, my Canaanite buddy, typing in the car in parking lot, hit the send on the first message. Canaanite, I like that. Little boom booms. I used to call my family. We had 8 kids in my family. My father was a big man, like 6'3", 250, 260 pounds. Later in his life, escalated to over 300 pounds, and I used to call him the big cannon, and we were the 8 little boom booms. And I so hated that, but you know, I guess when you think of it now, it was pretty funny. Kim Alliston, good to see you, Kim. Thank you for all you do. Kim Alliston, a great moderator, great friend, and she does, and a great supporter of Police Off the Cuff. She's one of our biggest friends. She's one of our biggest fans, and appreciate her. Eric Olson, hi, Bill at Police Off the Cuff. How you doing, Erica? Erica Olson, I'm sorry. Erica Olson, good to see you. So yeah, okay, all right. You know something, I spoke longer, I think, than I intended to on the Idaho quadruple, but I predict as we get closer to June 26th, which is when the hearings start, I predict there's going to be more and more leaks, and more probably true leaks, and there's going to be more and more. You know, there are the channels that sensationalize this. There's many of them that make up things and then build that around information that's out there, or information that has been leaked out there. And we try to stay with the facts here. But you know, it's hard to ignore when you're hearing there's been no new information put out by law enforcement because of the gag order. And then you hear other stations talking about, oh, this happened and that happened, and we got that right from a leak close to the they don't call it a leak, by an investigator close to the investigation. You know, there are 3 documents, one over 170 pages, filed by BK attorney the other day. Yeah, well, that's all attorney stuff. They ask things, certain evidence to be thrown out. They ask for, they want the discovery more quickly than maybe they're entitled to in this jurisdiction. And it's part of a prosecutorial strategy of when and how much discovery material to release and when they release it. And every time they release new discovery, the defense has to get investigators on the discovery to see whether or not A, it's true, or B, how should they fight this? How can they create doubt in this discovery information that was just released? So, as I said, that's going to be Mary Michael, Kim and I are looking for more Canaanites. If anyone wants to join them, contact them. That you can join the new Canaanite fan club. We love that. Well, if you're a Catholic, which I grew up as, the Catholic Church has canon law, but it's spelled C-A-N-O-N. It's not the two N's that I have. Canon, the boom boom canon. So, canon law, yes. Eric Olson, Shatim Smith. Now tell everyone who pays for defense investigators, digital evidence, and experts. We pay for it. Taxpayers pay. Brian Kohberger's defense is a legal aid attorney. So everything they need, they're whatever they get, $200 an hour, $250 an hour, whatever it is that they get paid. Private investigators also get paid by the taxpayer for Brian Kohberger. That is, part of Miranda. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you free of charge. That's in the Miranda warnings, Your Miranda warnings, of course, you have the right to remain silent, but anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law. Those are the Miranda warnings. And the one where it says if you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you without cost. In this instance, from what I understand, the attorney that was appointed is Richard Resendez. Good to see you, buddy. Fire Opal. I've unfollowed so many channels who I thought had integrity. Turns out sensationalism matters more to those people than the victim that they are exploiting. Well, we've said that too. There's many channels that they come up with a, like a premise of, something National Enquirer-esque, and then they run with it, and they have a panel that talks about it. And that's purely, I think, for clicks. We'll say clicks and giggles, because you should be giggling at these channels and running away from them. Vicky O'Quinn. How'd you get that double Irish name? Quinn and O'Quinn. Wow, that's really Irish, unless that's a pseudonym and you made it up, but it's a pretty name. 93 in the chat, 55 with their thumbs up. Guys, this Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories, if you're not subscribed, go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us the thumbs up, and ring that bell. And make sure you ring that bell and give us a thumbs up. That's how we get shared out over YouTube. And yeah, hit the like. That's what I meant. Hit that like button, That's how Dawn Marie. Good to see you, Dawn Marie. So good to see all you guys. I'm so, blessed and lucky to be down here. And I've got 2 more months down here, and then I go back up north. And hopefully by then, it'll be warm up north. And I don't have to trudge through the snow or slip and fall on my ass like it happens every year, As you get older, those falls on your butt, they're not as funny as when you were younger, You fall down and you're like, ha ha ha. And then as you get older, you're like, oh, that hurts. One of the worst falls I ever had was when I was going skiing, and it wasn't skiing. I fell in the parking lot. I had my stupid ski boots on, and the parking lot was icy. And when you say my feet went straight up in the air like that, and I went full force, flat on my back. And the rest of the day skiing was fine. The worst fall was in the parking lot. Unbelievable, right? So it's. I haven't skied in years, though. I guess I don't know. I want to try skiing again as a double hip replacement guy. I don't know if I could navigate the turns. John Bear, Crazy Bill. Rick Borges laughing. He thinks that's funny. Ouch, like a cartoon. Yeah, you think your worst fall would be skiing. You expect to fall when you're skiing. But when you fall in the parking lot, that's the start of a bad day skiing, I think. And I haven't skied in years. As I said, I have two full replaced hips. I don't have the nerve to try skiing again. I don't know if I could. I don't know. I don't know if I could do it because, I mean, I used to squat like 405 pounds. I'd put 4 plates on each side. I wouldn't go to the deepest level, so I cheated a little bit, but just that amount of weight. And when I see people now in the gym, even squatting 135, which is 145 on each side, I'm like envious because I wouldn't even try squats now with, double hips. I don't think it's too smart to do, John Arbet, geez, sometimes been there, done that. Yeah, when, what are you going to fall on in Florida? You're going to slip on a banana peel, but and you can see the banana peel. Ice you don't always see. So, all right, guys, a lot of the, there's live testimony right now in the Alec Murdaugh case. And I saw the prosecution interviewing one of the experts on the autopsy. He didn't conduct the autopsies of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, but he's an expert on the results of it, and he was being grilled about that. So the prosecution is getting their second turn at the witnesses, and I don't know, what do you guys think about the Alec Murdaugh case? I mean, when it first occurred, June of 2022, might have been 2021, Phil and I right away said, he did it. Who else would have motive and opportunity to go on private property where there's dog kennels and guns, it's a hunting lodge? Who else would have the nerve to go onto that property and kill his wife and son? It just made sense that right from the beginning that he did it. And then the rest of it, when we started learning the rest of the facts, Barbara George, Alec's case is very political and he's guilty. Murdaugh, Shatim says there's going to be a not guilty verdict. Well, we'll see. I don't believe that, but we'll see. So when that occurred, and look at one of the things he did, which to me is such, Mike Geary always uses the term consciousness of guilt, where he lied about where he was during the time of Maggie and Paul's murder. That to me, Phil Grimaldi's in the chat, straight out of Brooklyn. Phil, how you doing today? I hear that you're going to get some snow up north. So yeah, Phil and I said, day one when this occurred, he killed them. And when you heard him on the 911 call, my wife and son are shot very badly. Who says that? Who says that my wife and son are shot very badly? Phil's under the weather. Let's have a few prayers for Phil. Feels better under the weather yesterday and today. That's why when you're always I used to get sick all the time in the police department when I was working in anti-crime, because you would go from outside in freezing weather and then you go to a car with the heat on full force, and I would always get sinus infections. Phil's got a stomach bug. Those are tough. Those are really tough. Everyone wish Phil better health and feeling better. Yeah, stomach bug is the worst. I mean, you can't go anywhere. You got to just stay in bed and, be close to the bathroom. It's crazy. Yeah, so the Alec Murdaugh case, I watched him testify. We watched a lot of his testimony. Thomas Jordan, hello, buddy. And he's very skilled. He's an attorney. He's very skilled. He comes across well. But under that Southern gentleman layer is a drug-addicted criminal. A criminal who stole $8 million. A criminal who stole from men, women, and children. A criminal who stole from his best friend. A criminal who stole from his family's law firm. He's got big problems, that guy. Addicted to oxycodone for 20 years. And when he talks about the amount of pills he took each day, you cannot think clearly. And I always say that people that are addicted to drugs, they lose their soul. They really do. So what I mean by that is you lose your moral compass. You totally lose your moral compass. And you can do things that someone who's not addicted to drugs would never even think of. But there he is, shooting his wife and his son with two different guns, which means it absolutely was premeditated, you know. Phil thinks that Alec Murdaugh will be found guilty. I believe that too. A lot of you folks, you know, we could take a vote, not that it means anything in the chat, because if there's one person in the chat that believes he's going to be found not guilty, and if that we apply that to the jury, that could mean that's enough for a mistrial. By a one, how many people believe, one in the chat, how many people believe that Alec Murdaugh is going to be found guilty once the jury gets to trial and votes on it? Let's all vote on that. How many people think he's going to be found guilty? Phil was the first to vote. 1-1 Mystique. 4. You get 4, 5, 6. Sylvia Rogier, she's questioning it. Linda Cosma says he'll walk. He's very influential, but he also, if he walks on this case, they're going to try him. He admitted to all the thievery because he knows this case is his life. This is his case. Shatim Smith believes, and it is what it is. We have two people voted that he's going to be found not guilty. There's I'm Not Obama. He says he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but it's hard to say what a jury will do. You're 100% correct. You don't know what the jury's going to do in this case. You notice, like, when you see the people watching the trial in the courtroom, they're glued. They're so mesmerized by this case, and it's you're right, guys. I believe he's going to be found guilty, but you never know what a jury's going to do. You never know. Is there going to be one person that votes not guilty, and is that going to cause a mistrial? They'll try this guy till the cows come home. There's that expression again. Because if they try him again and there's a hung jury, they'll try him again. They'll try him till they find him guilty. Because this is a double murder. This is a double murder of a young man, Paul Murdaugh, and Alec Murdaugh's wife, Maggie, who was 52 years old, I believe, when she was killed. So the prosecution will get more than one bite of the apple. If he's found guilty, if one person votes that he's not guilty and they find a mistrial, believe me, they'll try him again. Shatim Smith, he's as guilty as sin, but juries are difficult to predict. Scott Mezza says, my family member told me he's going to be a big case as they seem several police cars posted. It's still going to be a while before the jury gets this case. I mean, right now the prosecution is going over, evidence once again, doing their final summations to this. This case is already, if John Arbert, if it's a hung jury, you can be. If you're found not guilty, no, you can't be tried again. If they come up with new evidence on the same case, but if one juror votes not guilty, that's a mistrial, and they'll have to try the case over again. That can absolutely happen. So, Liam, do you think there's any way he didn't do it? Look, me personally, no. I think he 100% did it. And look, people will accuse me and Phil and Mike Geary. Pablo Sakata, how are you, buddy? They'll accuse us of being pro-prosecution. Yes, and we are. But if I saw a case that didn't look like the person did it and the prosecution wasn't proving their case, I would say it. But I think the evidence in this case is so strong. Just the lies in themselves, the lies he told, Phil says, hung jury, they can retry the case. Yes, just the lies he told in this case are enough for most people, to say, wow, well, why is he lying? Why did he lie about one of the most important things? And that was being at the kennel. He denied he was ever at the kennel till guess when? That's why police take a statement early on in the investigation. Because then, don't most people have a clearer memory to things that occurred right after an occurrence? Yeah. So a year later, 15 months, 16 months later, you think their memory is a little fuzzy and not as clear as it was when it first occurred? Well, Alec Murdoch said he was never at the kennels till during discovery he found out about his son Paul's video that put him in the kennels or right at the location. That's why he changed his story. And that's why the prosecutor kept saying, which news story are you going to tell, Mr. Murdoch? Which news story? How are you going to change your story today? You know, Cindy Newman said he makes a lot of eye contact with the jury. I think the jury will do I'm just sort of surmising what she said. The jury will do an OJ and find him not guilty. I don't think so. I think the OJ jury was jury nullification, and they just disregarded all the evidence. And I can't say enough bad things about the OJ jury. They were incompetent, all of them. They were morons, you know. And anyone that says it different, I just think they were absolute morons, that jury, and Californians that were just looking at the sun and eating an orange, you know. It's like just crazy. The amount of evidence that they had against OJ, and that jury found him Cocoa Puff Bear, yo Sergeant Bill, yeah. I call them as I see them, you know, and that OJ jury were buffoons. They were idiots, you know. And the prosecution in the OJ case, they weren't great. Did the detectives make a lot of mistakes? Absolutely. Do all detectives make a lot of mistakes? Absolutely. It's human nature. We make mistakes, you know. Nadia Kuzan, OJ was 100% guilty. A lot of things went sideways with the OJ case. Yeah, well, you know, something, he also spent, you know, I can't even imagine how much his defense, they called his defense the dream team. F. Lee Bailey, Robert Shapiro, Johnny Cochran, and then a slew of other attorneys. So, you know, does everyone get a trial like that? Mary McMichael, yes, Mary Michael, OJ jury was dazzled by the celebrity of it all. You know something? You're 100% right. And you know what? I also accused the LA detectives of being dazzled by the celebrity, because there were two old, we call them hairbags on the NYPD. There were two old-time detectives, I think, in the OJ case, made a fatal mistake. And what was that mistake? They had OJ in the interrogation box. They had him in there and they let him leave. He never asked to leave, they let him leave. He should have never walked out of that box until he confessed or requested counsel or just asked to leave. Can I leave? He never asked to leave. They let him leave. They could have stayed interviewing him and interrogating him for hours. The more people talk, the more mistakes they made. And at some point he may have seen or heard himself implicating himself, and then he may have said, you know, I think I need a lawyer. I think I want to leave. And he never did that. But Lang and Van Atta, two old hairbags, they should have known better. They let him go. And it was a huge, huge mistake. And he had a cut on his hand that they asked him about the cut. Remember, we always say in all murders with a knife, usually the perpetrator cuts himself? Yeah, he cut himself. And when he questioned, he said he broke a glass in a hotel room and cut his finger. It wasn't believable, and Sylvia says that the OJ decision was socio-political. I agree. It was part of jury nullification, and no one was going to convict OJ if they had a video of him doing it. They wouldn't have convicted him. Nadia Kuzan, these killers as narcissists, they get away with it. Well, you know, part of the thing that I don't like about the Brian Kohberger case is that people are trying to make him this cult figure, like this great figure of murder, and I find that despicable. Like this, how about the idiot that fell in love with him from a distance? Where does that idiot come from? Oh yes, I just fall in love with with murderers. That's my MO. I mean, how pathetic is that? Lady, get a life and shut your mouth. Don't even talk about that. I mean, don't get me started. Someone falls in love with Brian Kohberger and sends him love letters, I wonder if Alec Murdoch is killed before. Well, guys, we know some of the family history was Stephen Smith in 2015 was killed in a hit and run, and they believe that someone in the Murdoch family is involved in that. In 2018, Gloria Satterfield, their cleaner, their housekeeper, fell down the stairs, pushed down, whatever, and died from her injuries a couple of weeks later. $4 million lawsuit. The family won. And Alec Murdoch stole the money from her two children, from two boys. 2019, Paul Murdoch driving a boat, intoxicated, totally intoxicated. And a 19-year-old girl by the name of Mallory Beach, loses her life during that boating accident. While they were all transported to the hospital, Alec Murdoch goes to the hospital and tells them not to talk to investigators. So these are not good people. These are not good people. Then during this case, shortly thereafter, his wife Maggie and his son Paul was shot. He hires a family friend or cousin to shoot him so that his son Buster could collect the life insurance. And it's a failed shooting, so somehow a helicopter picks him up at the scene and transports him to a hospital in another state. And right thereafter, he goes into drug rehab, so that now the police can't talk to him about anything because he's protected by confidentiality and the HIPAA laws. Team Smith's wealthy people are treated differently. No doubt. No doubt. I'll be the first to admit that. We talk about Harvey Weinstein. Look at that dirtbag. How long he got away with being a rapist. And wealthy, powerful people enabled that guy. They enabled him to do what he was doing. And it was known in Hollywood that he was a dirtbag. But he was so powerful. The real dream team, Cannon, Grimaldi, and Geary. I like that. Cindy Newman says she was shocked at the OJ verdict. Wealthy people pay to be treated differently. Yeah, well, I think there's evidence of that, There's absolutely evidence in our system. Look, if you can afford the best defense team that money can buy, yeah, you got a better chance of beating the charges. But in this case, Brian Kohberger, when we go back to that, the Idaho quadruple case, Ethan Chapin, Zaina Knodel, Madison Mogen, and Katie Gonsalves, Brian Kohberger has one of the best legal aid attorneys in Idaho. So he's not paying, we are. And he's getting a great defense. So let's not think because Miss Moore, who is his attorney, let's not think because she's legal aid that she's not good. She's very capable, and he's got a really good defense. So, guys, I got like 1 minute left. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Coffee with Cannon, backyard beverage, bitchin' with Bill, just in time for the guy's backup horn to go off. Shadow Dance, I saw that somewhere. And guys, again, yeah, also if you're not subscribed, hit our subscribe button, go on our YouTube, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell. And I want to wish everyone a great day today, February 27th. Phil Grimaldi, I hope you're feeling better from your stomach virus. I've had them before. I know they're horrific. Law enforcement speculated that Maggie Murdoch pushed the housekeeper down the stairs. I read something that they said she tripped over the dogs, or the dogs ran into her, or something like that. It doesn't sound feasible to me. Guys, have a great day. Police Off the Cuff, Bill Cannon, Coffee with Cannon, Backyard Beverage, Bitchin' with Bill.